You probably know that first class has been on its way out for a while now, and you probably know that most airlines had their flagship first class product on their A380s, which have sadly been retired because of the pandemic. But with or without the pandemic, first class is difficult, very difficult, and a massive struggle that many airlines face is figuring out what to do about first class. The trend has been toward eliminating first class in favor of improved business class products, but there is much more to the story. Why is it so difficult to offer first class? Why was it starting to disappear even before the pandemic? And how did the pandemic become the straw that broke the camel's back? To illustrate just how incredible the first class effect is, let us start with this example. Here is an Etihad Airways 787-9. This airplane comes in two versions. Both versions have 28 business class seats. The area where they differ, however, is that one offers 8 first class suites at the front and 195 economy class seats at the back. The other version comes without first class, so you may ask, what do they do with that space instead? Well, they replace the first class seats with business class seats, and then they replace the business class seats with more economy class seats. The shocking truth is that in place of those 8 first class seats, Etihad puts 76 economy class seats. That's right, one first class seat takes up the space of almost 10 economy class seats. From 8 to 76. Now, let's look at what Etihad charges for these seats. A round-trip first-class ticket from New York to Abu Dhabi on a random date costs $10,730. On the same dates, an economy class ticket costs $751 round-trip. The total possible revenue, if all 8 first-class seats are sold, is $85,840. Now, 76 is a lot of seats, especially when you multiply it with 751. So you might be surprised to hear that the total revenue for 76 economy class seats is only $57,076. So Etihad makes almost $29,000 more from the first class seats. In fact, Etihad makes $53,650 if only 5 first class seats are sold, which is basically the same amount as if every single economy class seat was sold. This dilemma fascinates me. Obviously, first class seems like a no-brainer, yet Etihad has stopped flying first class equipped 787s to New York. For months, they opted to sell 76 economy seats instead, which seems even stranger considering many long-haul flights have load factors of 30, 20, or even 10% at the moment. Selling just one first class seat for $10,730 could give them the same revenue as 14 economy passengers on the same flight. So there must be another reason Etihad is not offering first class to New York, despite the potential for enormous revenue. In fact, there are many reasons, which we will go over in this video. Because based on the numbers, it seems like offering first class on every flight would be a no-brainer. Let's start with what is obviously happening in the entire airline industry, something I've mentioned over and over. First class is disappearing. It won't disappear completely, as you'll see, but compared to even 10 years ago, first class has become incredibly rare. This is largely due to the forward push of cabin classes, where premium economy is what business class used to be, and business class is becoming better than what first class used to be. I mean, look at Qatar Airways. Their Q Suite is arguably a far more revolutionary seat than their A380 first class. Lie-flat private seats in business class are allowing passengers to access first class comfort at a far lower price. So there is very little reason to pay 2 or 3 times as much for first class unless you are truly swimming in money. But the real issue here is that there are very few people who are swimming in money. Going back to my Etihad example, Abu Dhabi is one of the few places on earth where first class really makes any sense, given the high proportion of extremely wealthy people living there. there. Just look at this map of the hubs of airlines in the world currently operating aircraft equipped with international first class. Why do I say currently? Because airlines such as Qantas, Thai Airways, and Qatar Airways have all grounded or retired their first class equipped aircraft. This list of countries reminds me of the map by today's video sponsor, NordVPN. Why? Because NordVPN allows you to change your IP address to any of these countries, giving you privacy and protection from people trying to steal your private information online, but also access to exclusive content that's only available within the borders of each of these countries. This is incredibly useful for Netflix and other streaming services, unlocking content, files, and more that would otherwise be unavailable to you. You can, of course, protect yourself with NordVPN at nordvpn.com/nonstopdan. And by using code NonstopDan, you currently get 73% off a 2-year plan plus 4 months for free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is at the top of the description. These cities, besides being among the most populous cities in the world, all have a large number of wealthy residents or corporate executives on a different level to many other places. A few cities might stick out as absent from this list. For example, San Francisco is the home of Silicon Valley, but generally, when you think of the wealthier cities in the world, it's these. Now, who is actually paying to fly first class? Not many people actually, at least not at normal prices. Most people flying first class are either flying because their jobs are paying, like corporate executives whose contracts stipulate they should fly first class when available, or they're top 0.1% wealthy individuals. Even in business class, it's these individuals who make airlines most of their money. Leisure travelers are looking for bargains, so the real money is made from corporate passengers who pay for convenience and don't care about the price. Still, there are very few companies who even pay for first class. Heck, one of the world's biggest companies, Amazon, requires almost all its employees to fly economy on work trips. So what ends up happening is that markets where there's a smaller concentration of executives or wealthy passengers is that most individuals flying first class are bargain hunters, who either book their tickets at a massive discount due to a sale or they're redeeming miles. Clearly, offering first class to these people doesn't really make sense. And yes, that includes most people like myself who only really use miles for premium cabin flights. Sadly, we're not too great for airlines. So the natural step is to remove first class from markets where it doesn't generate high-paying customers. Examples would include the removal of first class from most of Lufthansa's US destinations, including Dallas, Houston, Detroit, and more. Of course, there's still some first class demand, but clearly not enough for 8 or even 4 seats a day at regular prices. Once you start removing first class from routes, you encounter a new problem, which makes demand lower across your entire network. The problem of network reach. Let's say a wealthy person is looking to fly from Mumbai to Dallas with Lufthansa. Previously, the connections were timed perfectly to get them the whole way in first class comfort. Now, only the Mumbai to Frankfurt leg offers first class, so what's the point? The price isn't much lower even though the second leg is in Lufthansa's kinda crappy business class. This applies to the entire network. For every route that loses first class, Lufthansa is losing first class passengers on other routes as well. For example, people who would be on LH400 from Frankfurt to New York might only be there because LH573 from Johannesburg also offers first class. Remove first class from LH573 and that passenger is no longer on LH400 either. This makes optimizing and selling a first class network difficult, to say the least. Do you choose to offer first class on routes where most people are bargain hunters and points users just so that occasionally someone will pay and fill seats across the network? Or do you cut losses on that route and take the loss on other routes as well? This creates a feedback loop where first class is continuously being reduced, since the removal of one route might eventually lead to the removal of another. Now, where does COVID-19 come into play here? Looking at Lufthansa again, they used to offer first class on their A330 and 747-400s in the early to mid 2010s, but both were reconfigured without it. They at least still had first class on their A340-600 and A380s, but now both of those have been removed from service as a consequence of the pandemic. This leaves Lufthansa with a single first-class aircraft type, the Boeing 747-8. We'll get back to Lufthansa in a second. What about Thai Airways? They used to offer first class on their 777-300, which was removed in favor of business class. They also offered it on their A340s, which were retired. But lastly, prior to the pandemic, they had it on their 747s and A380s, both of which have also been retired. Another airline, Air France, also retired their A380s, so now they only have first class on select 777s. What happens to airlines like these? Lufthansa has two first class lounges in Frankfurt, one of which isn't even a lounge but an entire terminal. They also recently launched a first class lounge in Munich. Now they only have 19 planes with first class, offering a total of 152 first class seats in their entire fleet. It's even more extreme at Air France, who only have 4 first class seats per plane and 19 planes with first class. So although they have the same number of first class planes as Lufthansa, they only have 76 first class seats in total. But worst of all is Thai Airways, who no longer have a single aircraft with first class. Still, Lufthansa and Air France are expected to offer full first-class services as they always have. They need to offer first-class lounges, first-class check-in, first-class luggage, and much more. Maybe 10 out of Air France's 19 first-class equipped 777s will leave Paris every day, and perhaps half of those seats will be sold on every flight. That's 20 passengers per day requiring a fully equipped lounge with services such as a spa and an a la carte restaurant. Talk about a costly operation. Suddenly, the first class equation doesn't make as much sense. Going back to the example we discussed with Etihad at the start of this video, the airline has also retired their A380 fleet as a consequence of the pandemic, leaving them with 5 first class equipped 787s. That is all. Now we ask, how do they fill these seats? It pretty much has to be people flying solely between New York and the Middle East for it to make sense. They can't connect people to Southeast Asia, Australia, or Africa in first class anymore. This reduces the market significantly and in turn makes providing all services associated with first class, from catering to lounges, far more expensive on a per passenger basis. So the truth is that even though they need to fill 14 economy class seats to get the same revenue as one first class seat, it might still be easier to sell those 14 seats even in a pandemic. Economy class is available throughout their network, so of course you can connect from anywhere to anywhere. Etihad also has far lower operating costs in providing economy class services. With just one first class passenger on board, they still need crew, catering, and all the extra services, but by eliminating that, even if they don't sell many economy class seats, they save a lot on costs. There are just 3 airlines I can think of that still have extensive first class networks. These are British Airways, Swiss, and Emirates. All of them are based in massive business hubs, but even with these airlines, many future aircraft deliveries, notably 787s and A350s, will probably not feature first class, which is a step away from their tradition of offering a first class cabin on virtually all their aircraft. So, the sad truth is that first class is in critical condition. Thankfully, it seems Lufthansa and Air France are committed to continuing to offer it on a few aircraft, and many airlines that have historically offered first class seem to be able to motivate the high costs of providing the additional services because of the extremely lucrative demand in just a few markets. For example, last I heard, Qatar Airways aims to provide first class on select 777X aircraft specifically for flights to London, with high demand among wealthy Qataris. But for those of us who weren't lucky enough to travel as much in the previous decade, experiencing the pure joy of flying first class has just become a lot more difficult. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please don't forget to check out NordVPN at the link at the top of the description. And if you want to get some more luxury flying in your life, make sure you're subscribed, not only so you don't miss out on my reviews, but also to get the chance to fly with me in Qatar Airways Q Suite for free next year. Until I see you all in the next video, fly safe, guys.